It's a plan that will save or create 3 to 4 million jobs over the next few years, and one that recognizes both the paradox and the promise of this moment. The fact that there are millions of Americans trying to find work, even as all around the country and with so much on the line, it's time to begin doing. We will do what must be done to help in concert with state and local agencies and nonprofit organizations and volunteers who are doing so much to aid the response effort. All of us have agreed on the most sweeping reform of our financial regulatory framework in a generation. Reform that will help end the risky speculation and market abuses that have cost so many people so much. So much of our government was built to deal with different challenges from a different era. Years later, it was hard not to be moved by Judge Sotomayor's mother, sitting in the front row at the White House, her eyes welling with tears, as her daughter, who had come so far, for whom she had sacrificed so much, was nominated to the highest court in the land. This is what makes. When it comes to the cost of health care, this much is clear. The status quo is unsustainable for families, businesses, and government. It's true that this crisis was caused in part by Americans who took on too much debt and took out loans they simply could not afford. They say we're trying to do too much, that we're moving too quickly, and that we all ought to just take a deep breath and scale back our goals. Although the Recovery Act represents just a small fraction of our long-term debt, people have legitimate questions as to whether we can afford reform without making our deficits much worse. As a result, small businesses are much less likely to offer health insurance. I realize that none of this is much comfort for Americans who are still out of work or struggling to make ends meet, and will require insurance companies to cover routine checkups and preventive care, like mammograms and colonoscopies, or eye and foot exams for diabetics, so we can avoid chronic illnesses that cost too many lives and too much money. It won't say much about the cost of inaction. If you're expenses, because no one in America should go broke because they get sick. And we will require insurance companies to cut. No more turf wars. All of us need to move forward together because there's much more work to be done. They'll no longer be able to place some arbitrary cap on the amount of coverage you can receive in a given year or over a lifetime. And we will place a limit on how much you can be charged for out-of-pocket expenses, because no one should go broke just because they get sick. Recent studies show that if we fail to act now, employers will pay 6% more to insure their employees next year, and more than twice as much over the next decade. This is an important measure of our economy as a whole, one that tells us how much we are producing and how much businesses and families are earning. We learn